We'll start again. Here we go.
Again, you didn't miss out on much, folks. It's probably best that I stay muted for most of the stream, I feel.
No, technical difficulties. What is happening, guys? Welcome to the very first episode of FPL and Chill, and what better way to bring in a very new show, the very first episode with the guy who named it, Tongue and Loftus. How's it going, buddy?
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I'm very good. I'm very, very privileged and happy to be the first guest on your FPL and Chill. I did name it, but you selected the name from a plethora of terrible name suggestions that I also offered. So you deserve some credit there.
Thank you very much. I feel like you were probably a really good person to start with because your name is Tongue and Loftus Cheek, which is one of the best puns. Like, I don't really like the shitty names that everyone brings up in FPL, right? I always just go for like my favorite actor and just stick it on. The Simon Peggs is my name on FPL, but you have a really good name. Yeah, because I love Simon Pegg.
To be honest, shall I tell you, it's the first exclusive of the night that Tongue and Loftus was stolen. I stole it from my girlfriend's brother, who is far funnier and creative than me, and he had it as a team name like 4 seasons ago, and then when I started doing FPL stuff, I said, you know what, can I have that because it's brilliant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. So there you go.
That's disgusting.
That's the only I know, and I tell you what, it's the only thing I've got going for me as well. So
that is not true. That is not true. Okay, so first things first. Thank you very much for being on the stream, buddy. You can't chill with an FPL and Chill without a drink. And you just showed what you're drinking. What have we brought to the table?
I've gone, well, it's not the classiest beer in the world. It's a Red Stripe. Have you ever been to Notting Hill Carnival? Have you been to Notting Hill Carnival, Dave?
I don't even think I've been to Notting Hill.
Okay.
If that helps.
It's a great film, but it's an even better carnival. And Red Stripe is kind of the official beer of Notting Hill Carnival. So in some parts of the world, it is trendy, but generally speaking, in Norwich, where I am at the moment, it's a cheap lager, and it's going down quite well, to be honest. What are you drinking?
I always drink bourbon on the stream, unless I really need some good captain juju, and I'll drink Captain Morgan's, but I've only tried that once, and I captained Abraham, and that didn't work out too well. So I might try a different rum next time.
Sophisticated choice.
Yeah, bourbon's just really, really sweet and lovely, and tastes better than most other things, so I go for that. But yeah, so you're a cheap date then, Red Stripe. Is that your go-to? Like, I'm in the pub, I'm gonna drink. Like, I've only got £4 in my pocket, and I need one thing. Like, is that
£4 would get you nowhere in Norwich, my friend. Let me tell you that. You'd be on the halves. No. Yeah, no, it is. I tell you what, I went for a phase, particularly when I was at university, of being into real ales. You know, and people will treat real ales like a wine. They'll kind of sniff them and look for what's on the palate. And I went through that phase and loved it. And now I've gravitated back to lagers, which is a drink I started drinking, way back when I was a wee nipper, as you would.
As I would never say ever, but yeah, no, great.
What people say. Yeah.
So it used to be. I mean, I worked in a bar. I watched people go through the phase that you went through, and I always thought they were wankers. But now I'm going out with one of them. My girlfriend's like, I'll instead of buying her, a 24 days before Christmas like chocolate thing, I buy this online. Like every day is a new beer that has a cool logo on it and a cool name, and it's got IPA on it.
They're cool.
Like, and she loves them. That's like, she goes down for that. Like, that's great. So
she sounds like a keeper.
Yeah, she definitely is.
She goes down for that, blimey.
She goes down for that. She is down for that.
Desperate for that advent.
So no, I'm kind of being introduced to it, but I don't really like beer that much. So is that your go-to then, beer? Is that what you kind of get?
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah, it's not very interesting, is it, to say that? But it is. I think I'm always, the guy, and particularly in Norwich, there's so many real ale pubs. And I am the guy who goes there and is like, what lagers have you got on, please, mate? And, it's Carling and Heineken and Stella. And those are my bread and butter.
Well, obviously this is our first date, so I wouldn't expect you to go mental. You're not gonna buy like a bottle of champagne. I'm quite happy that you go Red Stripe because I am a very poor person, so that's
To be
very
honest,
nice.
yeah, this is. I feel like if I was on a first date, I would make no bones about the fact that I am a lager man, and I would
Yeah.
expect whoever I'm sat opposite to respect that, and and maybe find it even a little bit endearing.
So what do you go for if you've got like, I don't know what it is in Norwich, but a tenner will go quite far in pubs in Glasgow. So like what if you're treating yourself, like, you're celebrating, or, you just want to you want to show off a little bit on a date or something, what would you go for?
You mean drinks wise,
Yeah, yeah, of
or
course.
maybe I'm not. I'm definitely prone to a G&T.
Oh yeah? That's how
So I
you
feel like
get down?
if I was having dinner with an ambassador or a delegate or someone important, maybe I'd err towards a G&T. But actually,
Right.
I mean, one of the things that you may not know about me, Dave, is that in my spare time, I run pub tours of Norwich. I run historical pub tours.
Really?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, look them up. Norwich pub tours on TripAdvisor,
Jesus.
folks. Look it up.
I'm gonna.
And yeah, so I'll run pub tours, and so as part of that tour, I will often have to, people kind of look at what I'm drinking because maybe they're new to the city or
Yeah.
they may be not English natives, so they kind of follow my lead. So I
Oh
in
wow, you
situations like
trendsetter.
that,
Norwich twins
well,
there.
in situations like that, I will only on the tour. Obviously, not people aren't following my lead in general life, but on the tour, they'll look at what I'm drinking and they'll ask me for recommendations. So in situations like that, I may go for something more local, which is maybe an ale, maybe a local gin, or something like that.
Oh wow, man of many talents. You're a tour guide. You write stuff. You actually write a lot of stuff. You do We'll get
I
into all your stuff.
Jack of all trades, master of none is the
Yeah.
phrase that you're looking for.
No, you're definitely a master, tongue wizard. I love that you named yourself Tongue in Loftus Cheek because you are super cheeky and you actually write, helpful guides to people who want to write marketing stuff. Like that's something you do, and I'm going to go through all of the stuff that I've researched for you.
You're going to dig up the skeletons
I'm gonna
in my
dig
closet.
up, yeah, in those old pubs where you've hidden the bodies. So when was your last date? Obviously, this is nice and new and all fresh and stuff. But when was your last date? Or is this the first one you've had in a while?
Yeah, well, it depends what you mean by date, I suppose. Like I've been with my girlfriend for 5 years.
Congratulations.
We own a house together. Yeah,
Ooh.
thank you. Yeah, she's great. And so I suppose in date in a traditional sense, my last date was about 5 years ago,
Right.
almost
Okay.
today, where when I first met her and we took it from there. But obviously we make an effort to go out and have dinner and we want to have some romance in our relationship. So
Yeah.
in by that description, our last kind of date night, for want of a better term, was only the other week. We went for dinner to a place called Farmyard in Norwich, which if you're from Norwich, you probably know it. It's very, very nice.
Right.
Local food.
I'm assuming it's not a farm.
It was good.
It's not an actual farm you've taken your girlfriend to, right?
See the goats and the sheep. Yeah.
So
It's all fresh.
have you ever been into this whole Netflix and chill like setup that people do now? I feel like 5 years, that means you kind of missed the whole Tinder thing, maybe.
Yeah, I did a little. Actually, me and my girlfriend met on Tinder. So
Oh really? So you potentially have
did.
already done it.
But it was back in the day when Tinder had a slightly more sordid reputation than it has.
It wasn't slap bang, see you later.
It was.
This was for life.
We no. I mean, it was more. I think today. I don't know. I haven't been on Tinder in a long time, but my interpretation is that today it's somewhere where you can realistically meet someone and get to know.
I see. So
but 5 years ago it was newer.
So when you say you just met your girlfriend 5 years ago on Tinder, it literally just was for a shag. And
it wasn't at all. It wasn't.
I hope she's watching.
Why do I do that? Why do I put myself in that hole?
You actually stopped me to explain my mistake.
Exactly, yeah. Actually, you're wrong there. It was all about the sex.
Yeah, no.
It was in our case. It wasn't. It was very romantic and traditional in that sense. But obviously,
Right.
you tried to explain to your grandma how you met, and it's not an easy thing to communicate with.
No,
with
I bet.
So. You'll know my grandma because she's the voice of the podcast.
Yes,
so,
I love that.
So trying to explain to that woman, that Tinder is a thing, and the concept of Tinder to her is alien. So
oh, man,
I tend to tell her something like we met at the ballet, or something like that.
Something more akin to what voice you have when you say
a bit less red stripe.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean, everything that's coming out of your mouth is really dirty, and everything you've told me so far is dirty. But you have the voice of like someone who has definitely been to university to do politics. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you sound so great.
I actually had a Scottish. I was born in Scotland, so for 7 years.
Whereabouts?
I was born in Perth, so. It's
so pretty much nowhere, not really that far off of what your accent is right now. Very posh, very posh place in Scotland you've just mentioned there.
Is it really? Well, that was the hospital I was taken to. I actually lived near St Andrews, which I guess is also quite posh.
No, that's not bad. That's okay. No,
so yeah, I lived in a village called St Monans for 7 years, and so I had a Scottish accent, and I came down here, and now I sound like, like as you say, like a bit of a twat.
Which brings us on to the first thing of our next little tour of James. So I actually didn't know who you were, right? But I have been following your Reddit posts for a while, which is the first thing which we're going to start talking about is twat. So
okay, yeah, it's a really nice segue there, man.
Thank you very much.
You've got one up on the screen.
Mate, this is a professional fucking stream, okay?
You are smashing it.
Professional.
Honestly.
All right, twat. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So the twat, it stands for the worst active team, and the premise behind it was my first kind of foray into writing about fantasy football, and the premise behind it is that we every single week I used to look at the worst performing team in the top 10K. So, right. Oh, hang on. Is my screen all right?
Yep. You're fine. Yeah, you're absolutely fine. Sorry.
So it's the worst performing team in the top 10K. So basically, looking at the best teams in FPL and finding the worst team in that, and analysing their team with the intention not to ridicule them, although of course there was some ridicule. The more important intention was to illustrate that, anyone, even the best managers in the world, can have a bad game week. And it was effectively to make people feel a bit better if they'd had a bad game week. Well, This guy who's in the top 10K only got 22 points. So, your game week comparatively was all right. So don't worry about it. And it was obviously a bit of fun, but people took to it.
I think they took to it because it was like, oh, I'm not the worst of the pick. Yeah, exactly. I think you nailed it on the head.
It's nice to know.
You made me feel better about myself so many times in ways my girlfriend has never, okay? Because I'll tell her I had a bad week and she'll be like, oh, that sucks. Whereas I'll tell you, I'll tell Reddit that I had a bad week, and you come back with, don't worry, this guy's an even bigger twat than you.
Here are some absolute, exactly, that's it, and it is, and I think that the word twat is obviously, it's quite a,
I mean, it's a grabber title. Yeah, absolutely, and not only that, because anyone could do that and say this guy had a worse thing, and you could have just posted it, but you actually are a great writer. Like, these choices combined with a conspicuous lack of any of the week's top scores feels like a disaster that was waiting to happen. But spotting a twat is always easy in hindsight. That, like, I was reading one of your little newsletters that said, write how you speak and everything will fall into place.
Are you actually subscribed?
No, mate, I am all over this, right?
I'm impressed by your research.
Say it how you say it. Is basically what you were saying. And so me reading this, it was almost like I'm reading something of someone who's trying like hard to make me laugh and succeeding. But after meeting you, so like 2 years later, after reading your shit, not knowing who you were, you actually sound like this. You sound like this. This is
yeah, I don't think
it's so
that's
surprising. No, it's good. Yeah. It's that's why it's so easy for you, I think, when I'm on the podcast or whatever. And I'm hearing you do all this stuff. It's so, like, I even said it my first time I was on the podcast with you. I was like, you were like, well, what are you guys doing in the weekend? And I was like, I'm taking whatever class you took, because that shit was fire how you said that. Like, I'm actually in awe of how you sound when you speak. It's so good.
This is very flattering. Thank you.
Use words like flattering.
I'll come on this podcast every week if you want me. Honestly, this is great.
So is twat still going then?
No, unfortunately it's not. I would take the data because obviously I don't scroll through 10,000 FPL managers looking for the worst one.
Right.
I would take the data from a great website called fpldiscovery.wordpress.com.
Yep.
And that was it was ran by a guy who called himself Smarty Pants. And I would, again, it's something that I would recommend to your viewers if it was still going. But unfortunately, you've got it up there. Unfortunately, as you can see, the last thing was game week 38, and he hasn't updated it since. So the twat isn't happening yet. It's not really a problem in the early phases of the season because the top 10K is really yet to cement itself.
Yeah, it kind of swaps about too much. By the way, I just wanted to say the person who gave me shit on Twitch for not using dark mode, fuck you. Like, everyone tells me this every time I show my Twitter or show my my thing. Dark mode is like in right now. Everyone loves dark mode.
God. You've got a tech-savvy audience. I'm just seeing, actually, I've just looked at the comments here. Look at that.
Yeah.
A fellow Norwich Burr. Jimzo, get in there. Woodfords. Yeah, love Woodfords.
Woodfords is actually in my cupboard right now. I mean, I've got some great bourbons in there, but I felt like this is a first date. I'm not going to bring out my Blantons, you know. If you play your cards right, you'll get a Blantons. But for right now, I'll show you what I've got. I texted my girlfriend who said she was going to Asda or something, right? And I was like, just get me a bottle of bourbon because I've only got really good stuff, and just get me something I can just smash through. She was like, no bother. She ended up going to Lidl instead, and I got Western Gold, which is
the Lidl equivalent.
Was the Lidl equivalent of Jim Beam.
Yeah, that's it.
So bad, but
hey, I bet it will taste nice though, man.
I mean,
Lidl always deliver.
Right. We're just gonna.
Other supermarkets are available,
of course. Is that cool if I do it like on camera? I don't know if people give a shit about how much I pour in.
I don't know if cool's the right word.
Yeah, it's like strange. So we've got twat and it's not going anymore, which is a shame. I'm assuming because the easiness of it and the fact that you started, so many more projects probably stopped.
I'll bring it back at some point. I'm sure.
So it's not up for grabs. Is what you're saying?
Well, if you want it, Dave, then by all means be my guest. But it's I tell you what, it's always good fun to write, but you do start to find by game week 38, there's only so much you can say about someone's shit team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's something that I'm really enthusiastic about and would like to continue. And it's ultimately the twat is what led to what is now my full-time job, which sounds ridiculous to say. That's true. It started with the twat, so it occupies a soft spot.
Yes, and that moves us nicely along to Fantasy Weekly and Fantasy Bet.
I feel like I'm on This Is Your Life.
So Fantasy Bet came to you and said, we love twat, we don't want it, but we want you. Is that kind of how it worked? Tell us about Fantasy Bet.
No. Unfortunately, can you imagine if they emailed me saying, we love twat?
we love twat. Yeah. No, I was actually scrolling through your Twitter because I wanted to see your past and your history, and I love you to bits, and you've actually only started Twitter this year in March, and one of the first things was they don't want twat, and that was it. That was like your fourth tweet or something.
Yeah, I'm impressed by your research again, but actually the timeline is that so I was doing the twat, and one of my best friends now called Jamie, a guy called Jamie, reached out to me because I was writing these posts on Reddit. And said, you're from Norwich, I'm also from Norwich, let's go for a pint in Norwich. And then I want to talk to you about something. And he suggested FF Mag, the fantasy football magazine.
Right, okay, so we'll start there. Okay.
So that eventually led to Fantasy Bet approaching me, but it went through the segue of FF Mag.
Okay, so FF Mag came first.
Twitter account.
I did. Does this bring back the memories?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Are you getting teary? I'll let you guys know. So March 2017, FF Mag started, and then unfortunately died January 2018, with a lot of people trying to keep it alive, a lot of people trying to, spur you guys on, but it was no more, and a lot of people were sad. I was going through all the Reddit posts and your Twitter. People were like, what can I do to keep this? People loved getting these monthly magazines you guys were writing. So what happened?
your level of, again, this is the last time I'll say it, but your level of research is, I feel like I'm on Hot Ones.
This is
the
great.
YouTube show where they eat chicken
It's Hot
wings
One. Instead of chicken wings, just
yeah,
like down your drink, okay?
it's just
So do that.
red stripe. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, yeah. So your question was
how did it began and why did it end?
What happened? Yeah. So Jamie in this pub in Norwich suggested the idea, and I obviously loved it. And he wanted me to be the editor, so I would write a few things, but also edit content that was coming in. And we crowdfunded it. So we went on Indiegogo and we raised money. We beat our target. Our target was £7,500, and I think we ended up on 11 grand or something like that.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, which is great. And we kind of thought, well, this is it. This is we quit our jobs, and this will be our life now. And it, unfortunately, the reality of starting a magazine based around the Premier League is that there's lots of red tape.
Yeah.
So if you want to use images, for example, you have to pay a significant amount of money for a license, and for each individual image as well, you have to pay. You have to pay a company that is licensed to distribute Premier League images. So that for starters, and obviously we were printing the magazines, so we were paying for print. We were sending them to over 30 countries across the world.
Wow.
Which included, we had a subscriber on Antarctica who was part of the British forces. We had India, Brazil. I mean, it was almost 7 continents. So,
and was it just content that we're kind of seeing now on Reddit and Twitter, and the same kind of stuff, but specific
yeah.
or?
I suppose the idea was, because it was every month, we couldn't be reactive to game week to game week. So,
right.
we couldn't recommend players like Aguero, because by the time we actually sent it to the guy in India who subscribes, it might be that Aguero's injured or whatever, So okay. We would look at more overarching stuff. So it was all about tactics and strategy.
Yeah.
We'd have a fixture tracker in there each month as well. Yeah. But it was things like more fundamental to the game. So we'd get people like, we had a chess grandmaster who did an article about,
which chess grandmaster?
It was actually Magnus Carlsen's trainer. So,
wow.
If you know Magnus Carlsen, who's a very famous chess player, as well as a very famous FPL.
That's so cool.
So it was his trainer who's with him, and Magnus Carlsen was a reader of the magazine. We sent him 2 magazines, one for the trainer and then one for Magnus, and we had Asmir Begovic did an interview with us as well, and he's a big fantasy football player, so he talked about what it's like to play fantasy football as a Premier League player, and right. We asked him questions like, did you captain yourself when you scored that goal? Complete saddos, we were chomping
obvious question.
Premier League. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I hope he just took you for a ride and was like, yeah, absolutely, 12 points plus bonus. Fucking idiots. Give me my money.
No, one of his principles is that he never included himself in his.
Why would he? He's Begovic, like.
Right, leave him alone. The man's a legend. In any case, so we did stuff like that. So we tried to do like feature articles. We had very good FPL players talking about the fundamental tactics and strategies that they employed to achieve a successful season. So not looking at specific players, but looking at more general approaches to the game.
And then ultimately, it was just a monetary thing in the fact that there was loads of, I guess, barriers, and eventually you kind of ran out, I guess.
Unfortunately, it still saddens me and Jamie to this day.
Is this taller than? Is that who you're talking about?
Exactly, yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Exactly. And he is. He's like 6'7". He's tall.
I mean, you don't put your name on Twitter as taller than unless you are extremely tall or extremely small.
taller than Kanu is his hand. Yeah, and he is. He's taller than Kanu and many other people. We both regret it. It went for 8 or 9 mags, and unfortunately, we were losing money every single magazine. So that 11 grand that we'd raised went incredibly quickly.
Right.
We were trying to secure ads deals with various companies, and unfortunately we weren't getting paid for it. We both had full-time jobs. We both had to make a living during the day. So it was a hobby of sorts that was basically consuming our entire lives, and we were losing money. And it got to the point where if we'd done another magazine, we would have been in debt, and we were a registered company, and we didn't want that. So
you gave it a good ass go.
Choice. We we hustled, I think is the word that the kids use these days.
I mean, hustling is, I get, it has negative connotation. This thing was awesome, and people wanted it so much that you surpassed your goal, and then you kept it going for 9 months. I just want to point out that on the chat, someone asked our very first FPL question and was very quickly answered by someone else, so we don't have to get into FPL right now. Is Kevin De Bruyne injured? Yes, groin strain, most likely won't play against Wolves. Perfect. Right, continue. So
people probably want to hear about FPL.
I know. We should
we give the crowd what they want.
No.
I'm really impressed that you are responding to on these comments. You're I mean, this is hosting to the next level. You're doing a very good job here, man.
Just to toot my own horn, everything that you're seeing that I'm clicking on right now that's flipping through is my monitor number 1. You are on monitor number 2, which is over here, just as a Skype, because it's a screen grab, so that's for that one. And then over on this monitor, which is my third monitor, is Streamlabs, which is what I'm using to stream, read the chat, look at follows, etc., etc. So
it's amazing.
Everything is going on in one place. Because I know people stream with like laptops and stuff, but another monitor is only £100, guys. Come on now. I'm a big computer geek. I used to play StarCraft professionally, like that kind of thing.
Oh, for real?
Yeah,
you actually were a professional gamer.
I used to play. I used to do tournaments for money, and that's as far.
Oh shit!
And that's I never got very far, but and then I was like, okay, let's try something else, and I started playing FPL. But like, yeah, no,
which is no money in that.
No, come on. Well, it is this year. It's been great. No, last year I did really, really well, and I won a few mini leagues. So I thought, yeah, I'll do it next year. And now I'm down in the Shrek swamps and 3 million overall rank.
Well, as Jimzo says on the stream, Dave is not a credible source of FPL tips anyway. Have you seen his rank?
Exactly. That is my one and only mod. And he hates me. Jim, how's it going, buddy? Thanks for coming yet again and keeping this rabble intact. So anyway, so there we were. FF Mag, very upsetting that they left. But then, taller than someone who contacted me about Fantasy Bet. So I'm assuming you kind of guys both kind of went in there together. Tell me, how did that work?
Yeah, kind of. So we actually worked with Fantasy Bet when we were doing the mag, and Fantasy Bet, I'm not here to promote Fantasy Bet by any means, but one of the great things that they've always done, since I've known them at least, is invest in content, in good FPL content. That's one of their fundamental marketing principles, is that they want to create great content. And so they approached us after FF Mag had dissolved to create a one-off World Cup magazine for the World Cup fantasy players, because last year in 2018, you might remember, there was such a lack of fantasy options that a lot of people gravitated towards the World Cup. So we made a magazine for them, and they then hired Jamie, right? Because Jamie is a genius in a lot of marketing aspects. His SEO skills are phenomenal. Okay. So they hired him, and then a position came open, which they approached me about, and I was very excited to take it on.
And that happened 96 days ago today.
I'll take your word for it, mate. It was around April time, so May or April. So I guess that makes sense.
Was it? You didn't post on Reddit about it until June, so there you go.
I gave
the public didn't find out until June.
I remember I gave it a bit of time. I remember thinking I want to make sure that my job's secure before
before you say, hey guys, I got a job, thanks so much. Oh, they sacked me because I told you. Shit. Exactly. No, so and then I guess the Fantasy Weekly podcast though had been going on for a long time before that. Is that correct?
No, actually it hadn't. No, so it started this year. It started in 2019 around February, and at that point I was hosting it, but I still had my full-time job. So it was just Jamie was in a position where he was able to make those decisions, and he asked me if I wanted to host the podcast.
Right.
We did a few podcasts for FF Mag as well, so I suppose he knew that I was at least competent on a mic. I wouldn't say I'm more than that, but he was happy to approach me about it. So yeah, the podcast was going on before I started, but it wasn't a very old thing. You know, I was the first host.
Right. Okay. And Mark General has been on it since the get go. I've got the very first
Yes.
episode up. Would you like to hear the first bit of it?
You're gonna. I don't have
I'm
a
gonna do it
choice, do
anyway.
I?
Oh, it's not let me click it. Oh, I thought I was gonna let me. Oh no, here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Coming up on the Fancy Bet podcast this week, we try to find some much needed perspective on the upcoming blank and double game weeks. Game week 27 is.
It hasn't really changed that much.
Again.
No, it hasn't. We're only 35 episodes in.
About his undying love for a pop legend. All of that and more.
That was probably really loud, actually. Aye, but no grandma.
No grandma. No, not at that point. No. So I actually had a fantasy bet, and again, this is, you know, they're committed to making good content. They actually sent me on a podcast consultancy day where I had an afternoon with the guy that runs Football Weekly, which is a huge. I don't know if you know it, but it's hosted by James Richardson. It's a huge podcast.
Okay.
And he was the producer of that, and the founder of the company Muddy Knees Media, who are behind that. And he, one of the things he said is you need a sting is the technical term. So you need someone to come in. And at first we thought it'd be cool to have like a radio voice actress who's like, you're listening to Fantasy Week, and then we kind of tried that and it didn't really work, and so then I was going to my grand and I thought it might be quite funny if I get my grand involved instead.
The first episode, it was funny because that I don't know, did that happen recently then? Was that in the last maybe 7 episodes or so, or 8 episodes?
No, it's probably around episode 20.
Right. Okay.
Off the top of my head. So we've
and when did I host? 25. 25 or
possibly,
some shit.
Yeah. Possibly.
Okay. So, no, it was funny. The very first time I ever hosted, I contacted Mark, and then we sat down and we were just chatting about it. And I told him I was nervous and blah blah blah. And then he said he was like, by the way, just so you know, that's his gran. And he was like, one, thank you very much for letting me know that. I love that fact, and I will hold it dearly for the rest of my life. And two, I love the fact that you wanted to tell me that, like it was this gold, like just give it to. I love it. And loads of people ask all the time, who is this? Like, she controls my soul, and I love it. I've seen some mental tweets from people like just loving the fact that that's your gran.
She's a hit.
She's a big hit. You should have her on the podcast.
I think she'd do a better job at hosting than me, to be fair.
Just give her the lines and watch her rip. Yeah, that's fucking awesome. I'm very, very conscious that I don't want to stay on Fantasy Bet too long, just because that seems kind of shite, doesn't it? Like we're self-promoting, and that's not the case. We're just going through. So bearing that in mind, another thing that you do on the side that has absolutely nothing to do with fantasy football at all is you're actually a copywriter. And it's a term that I only heard when researching you. What is a copywriter, really? And why do you have a website about it? And why is it the exact same picture as your Twitter?
That's
the only picture you've got.
There we go. Yeah, everyone's got their go-to picture, right? And that's just mine. You know? So my girlfriend took it. We're in Berlin on holiday and went to a Vietnamese restaurant, and she took it on the fly. Do you know what I mean? Like, want that pose?
Oh,
like,
you look very surprised. Don't spoil it. I want to read this. All right. So who am I? Well, there I am, about to tuck into what turned out to be a really nice meal. If you're ever looking for a good Vietnamese restaurant in Berlin, hit me up. I've been copywriting for about 7 years, and do you know what? It's not as difficult as everyone makes it out. If this chump can write words that sell, anyone can. So what is copywriting then?
Well, you've effectively read it out there. It's writing words that sell. So that's and again, we really shouldn't spend long on this because it's so.
No, we're going to spend a long time on this after the stream finishes because I need to learn this shit. So he's a great person to know.
It's basically anything that's written that is eventually intended to sell. So it might be a blog post, it could be a newsletter, it could be a landing page. Landing page is quite a good example.
Okay.
You know, you want to. It's writing in order to provoke your reader into taking action, whether that means signing up to a newsletter or buying a yacht, whatever it is. So copywriting is everywhere. Every single advertisement you see on a billboard, the copywriter who's written the headline there, and every website you see should have been written by a copywriter, and so that's the premise, I suppose.
All right, fair enough. Before I ask you loads of awesome questions about that, because I really want to know like what your favorite thing you've ever done and stuff is, I just want to mention that we've got 3 new followers. One is Stefan1180, who I've seen in the stream a wee bit before. Claytor's just joined us. Thanks for following, buddy. My favorite of the night, though, I jerk it to streamers. Thank you very much for following, buddy. I hope this particular one is juicy for the wank bank. You've got 2
it will
hunks.
be, man. It will be. You wait until we start lubing up.
I say that, right? You're the handsomest person I've had on the privilege of being on site with, and I look like I've been attacked by killer bees. Like it's hard to stand next to you.
I've choreographed the lighting very specifically
you could show them what you were working with. So I was setting up, and like setting up a stream is not difficult, but it's just there's a lot to go on, right? And while I was doing all this, show them what you were doing.
Oh, I was eating cheese on toast.
No. What were you doing with your background?
Oh yeah. Oh, this is cool. Yeah.
I was talking about gain, and I was talking about brightness, and I was talking about getting everything organized and getting the audio and stuff.
Because last time I did this, I think that might have been what stopped my stream. So
shall we maybe save it to the end? Okay, fine. We'll save it to the end.
Let's
do that. Just in case it breaks his little laptop. So
like
stick around for what he was doing while I was doing all that shit. All right. So you have a killer life, it seems, online at least. And not only that, but you do some pub stuff and everything, man.
I suppose I'm lucky that the job that I have, I work from home, so that gives me some freedoms that maybe I wouldn't have if I was working at an office and kind of had my manager breathing down my neck. I definitely get the work done at Fantasy Bet, but things like on my lunch break, for example, I can dedicate that to writing a new newsletter, for example, whereas I maybe wouldn't do that in an office. So
right, I see.
Stuff like that. So yeah.
And may I say what a lovely home you have? A hello you card on your right our left, and you also have a naked bum on your left our right.
I do, yeah.
Which is lovely. Did you draw that on a lunch break?
Yeah. Please, can we hang it up?
It's like your girlfriend was like.
My girlfriend is she's a history of art graduate,
right?
So she's very, very stylish. The house is really, if I do say so myself, it's a nice house, but it's not. I can take no credit for it.
You are zero. You paid.
Yeah, exactly.
You paid half
great.
The bills. She done most of the work. I get it. It's the
the
exact same. Yeah. This game room, I'd say game room, right? This is the only thing that I've kind of like not had a say, because she wants my my input on everything, but she recognizes that I don't really have any input on most of it, right? I was like, all I want is a game room. Fine. What color do you want it? I don't care. What do you want in the background? I don't care. What's your computer setup? Well, I need this, you know what I mean? Like, I know exactly what I want. The only thing that I really picked out is this, and I don't know if you're watching the stream, is this lovely poster at the back, which is my favorite comedy of all time.
Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead. Now, this is something that it comes up all the time on the stream. I assume it's just because it's behind me. What is your favorite Cornetto trilogy movie? There is only...
Lord of the Rings.
No, not your favorite trilogy. Your Cornetto trilogy. Sorry, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz. I was like, what's your favorite Simon Pegg movie out of Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, and this is the end.
Is that what they call it? The Cornell trilogy?
The Cornetto trilogy. Yeah.
Cornetto. Oh, I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that. Sorry. Actually, I think Hot Fuzz. I haven't seen. Is it World's End?
Yeah, at World's End. It's always Hot Fuzz. Why do you guys like Hot Fuzz so much? It's honestly second best. No, third best.
I like Shaun of the Dead, but I tell you what it is with Shaun of the Dead, right? Is that when it was first released, it was obviously fantastic and quite groundbreaking. But ever since that, there's been quite a lot of zombie-based films that have been released.
It's definitely nostalgic.
I can't help but categorize it in a zombie trend that I find quite annoying.
All right, fair enough. I mean, that works.
I just don't. I don't.
Whereas there's no movies about cops. Yeah, fucking wanker.
Fair enough.
Oh. And this is what happens, and then the stream just goes into a beret of quotes from Hot Fuzz. Everyone loves it. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's the third best in the trilogy. That's something, right? But it's just.
Oh, it's your least favorite.
It's my least favorite. Not in a like. Of all comedy trilogies, it's my favorite, other than maybe Monty Python, right? But that's not a trilogy. But like, yeah, no, I love Simon Pegg. My FPL name is the Simon Peggs, and I thought even that for me was clever because peg is an actual thing you can do in football. So I was like, yes, fucking, I like that, yeah. Fucking yes.
Are you a fan of Spaced?
Yes, I love Spaced. Yes,
I really like Spaced. Yeah.
I would say that would be up your street just by knowing a little bit about you. I think that would be your thing. Just the one Swan, actually. Yeah, everyone's just they just go nuts. Hot Fuzz.
Love that.
Anyway, right, enough non-FPL chat.
Yeah.
How are you getting on this year, my man? I've got your team up on the screen. This game week, at least you got 62 points. Your rank currently is 744,000, which is not bad. Yeah. Top of the million. Right. You had a great, nearly doubled your rank from last week. And it was funny you mentioned on the podcast that you weren't quite in the top 1 millionth of a game rank, but you were fucking very close. 1,000,
yeah,
5,000 away. Yeah. So talk us through your year so far, your season so far.
Yeah, I've chosen a good week to be on this stream because had I been on last Thursday, it would have been an absolute car crash.
Don't worry, we can just press previous. There we go. Right, talk us through that.
Yeah, so take a
this is better. You did better last week than I did.
Yeah, I did. Far. Yeah. To be fair, Lundstrom came in, so it was all right. Actually, that wasn't a car crash. Maybe it was a week before that. Recently, I think go one more back. Yeah, there we go. 30. This is the one that was a car crash. Look at that. 6 million. Right. Overall game week.
That's just unfortunate, isn't it?
I've ever had. Well, I mean, my season so far has been fine. That's how I describe it. I don't really care too much about my overall rank at the moment, and that's something that I've always tried to impress upon people is that we're in game week 8, so there's no need to panic, no matter where you are really. And I'd say even if you're in the 3 or 4 million zone. Mm-hmm. As I've already proved, a semi-decent game week. And let's remember, my last game week was nothing exceptional. I was outside the top 1 million for my game week rank, but I went from 1.6 million roughly to 750,000. So that jump is achievable at the moment. It may not be in game week 32, and that's when we can start worrying about where we're ranked. But at the moment, it's so volatile that a few good game weeks in a row and you'll be in that top 100,000 before you know it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it's something that we talked about, right? The obvious answer is fucking chill out, everyone, right? I'm in 3 millionth and even I don't give a fuck right now, right? And I'm doing so bad, so bad.
I mean, that's embarrassing. Yeah.
Yeah, no. You know what's embarrassing is the screen has stopped on your Skype, and that is embarrassing, my friend.
I look like the donkey from Shrek.
I'm looking down, Shrek. Right. Do you wanna do whatever you did last time to fix it? I think it means that you might need to hang up, but we won't say anything bad about you. I promise. Actually, I'm going to pour a new drink. So let's have a wee break. Everyone in the chat just now, if you have any questions for James on anything that we talked about or his team, which is up there, or anything at all, really, just post it in the chat just now while James restarts his Skype.
Can I go for a wee as well?
Yeah, go for a piss. We'll get some questions. We'll come back and we'll do FPL chat, and then we'll do our rate my teams. All right?
All right, sweet. Perfect.
All right, go for it. Can you close your... Are you already away? Have you gone yet?
Yeah. Well, no.
Can you close your shit so that we can fix it because it's gonna.
It's not. Yeah. I'll. Yeah.
Just hang up.
Yeah, I'm trying to. It won't.
Oh, okay. I'll hang up. Bye. How would you rate the quality of this call? I'm gonna go and give it a solid 2 stars.